Okay, good evening. It is August 6th, and it's 8:04 exactly. And we'll have roll call for the Traffic and Safety Commission of Villa Park.
Cuthbertson,
Yes.
Di Tomaso,
Yes.
Flaskamp,
Yes.
Little, McMurray, Carl Timmerman,
Here.
Karen Timmerman,
Yo.
Wagner,
Here.
Chairperson Pincos.
Here. Okay, any amendments to our agenda for tonight? Yes, Bob.
Chairman Pincus, I'd like to add an item, if it's okay, to kind of discuss preparations for the 2025 budget, or, regarding the commission's budget for the next year.
We could do that. How about during comments? Would that work?
You could also bring it up during new business.
Yeah,
During
I'd
new
like it
business?
as an agenda item.
Okay, all right. All right, so we'll add that.
I think it needs a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay. All right, let's go on. Anybody else, any amendments to our agenda? Okay, looks good. Okay, let's go on to public comments on agenda items. Anybody from the public? Okay, Bonnie Gobina? Jumelina, okay.
It's like Thumbelina, Gibelina.
Okay. We ask you, when you do come up here, that you try to limit it to 3 to 4 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm talking about item number 900 on the agenda, which is parking restrictions on Princeton, south of Belden, which it runs right along Twin Lakes Park. And I'm a resident. I live at 1022 North Princeton. And I appreciate the board's considerations in providing safety and protection of our resources that we have in that area, being Twin Lakes Park. The reason why I'm here is because I do understand why there is concern sometimes with parking on Princeton there. We have the parking that's in the actual park, that's in the block of, that is noted in the diagram here, that belongs to the park. And then there's a very narrow street. Princeton is very narrow there. And most of us are blessed with long driveways, but sometimes when we have guests and we are having our own family celebrations, that it makes it difficult to park in that area. And we tend to overflow into the parking lot if there's no activity going on at the park. So when we have difficulties is when there is a lot of soccer games that are scheduled at the park. And because of the timing of the soccer games, there is an overlap of parents trying to bring their kids to the park, or parents trying to get their kids away from the park after the game. And of course, nobody wants to leave right away when the game is over. And so it feels very dangerous as a resident to drive down that street when the parents are bringing their children to and from the games. Sometimes they look exasperated at us coming to our property like, what are you doing here? Well, I live here. So I appreciate that the board is addressing this, and I just wanted to say that we had called at times being concerned for the safety of everything that's being scheduled there. We've also experienced where there was not enough parking on that side of the park. And most of the parents, we were told, most of the people would be parking in the main big parking lot that is built there right by the restrooms and the fishing dock and the softball field. But they tend to want to park right there on Princeton because I think it's closer to where the soccer games are at. And so the parents get exasperated, so then they start parking along by the houses like it was illustrated in the map. And then also they park on the parkland that is not paved. So I happen to live right across from Twin Lakes Park, and so when we had our house built, we needed to put in two big pipes underneath the Princeton to take the water away from the property because there wasn't much stormwater mitigation in that area when the area was first being developed. So I have a swale on one side of me, another swale on the other side of me, and 2 conduits that go across into the park. Well, those pipes end up being in the grassy area of the park, and when parents park there, my concern is that they're disturbing the piping, our pipe underneath the ground, and we can have problems then with stormwater backing up into our system. So we have both an inner and an outer drain tile in our house, and we had flooding last fall, and we've discovered that the one pipe that was on the south side of our house was backed up, and then we also had this most recent time in July, we had water, the swale that is on the north side of us, it had nowhere to go. The swale was actually holding water because the conduit underneath the street was also backed up. And I had water in my window wells. It just came up, it came up in the window wells. Even though we have the drain tile in there, it had nowhere to go because the pipe had been blocked. So I called up Vaselli and talked to the village, and they were awesome. They got out there, and the truck came out, and a new truck that the streets department has, which was so cool. It pulled all the stuff out of the pipe. There was huge roots and all that kind of stuff. So my main reason coming here to talk about this is because of the ecological impact that parking can have on grassy areas if the ground is wet. I would also like to propose, if the board would consider, to also eliminate parking on, may I approach you? May I approach you with this diagram? So this is the diagram I got off the village
Yes.
website.
I'm aware of it. Yes.
Sorry. And so this area right here by the trees that runs south of the parking lot, if we could also encourage people not to park there when there's sporting events and things like that. So
Which one's your house out of that? Which one is your house out of that?
my house is this one right here.
It's the last one you see in the
It's the
picture.
last
Not
one?
the last one, because there's the last house that was
It's the last
there.
one you see in the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, last
been-
one in the picture. Right.
1022?
1022, yeah, because
That's demoed, isn't it? The last house on
the last one is demoed, yeah, and there's 2 houses that are gonna be put in there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it. And then also ask if residents may have permission, if we have to call the village and let them know we're going to have a graduation party. May we allow parking in front of our house, or something, but not on that grassy area if we need to. So
Okay.
that's what I was just going to ask for and say thank you very much for your
Okay.
time and consideration. And
I have a question. I mean, it's kind of covered by the trees here a little bit. Is there any kind of signage for parking or anything along the area that you're talking about?
No,
I'm
I
just-
think,
I'm curious.
yeah, we had called up, I called up Gina at the Parks Department and told her some of the concerns that we had. And I think it just has to be communicated directly to the soccer coaches, and sometimes, I don't know if they forget to tell the parents, their mind is just on those kids and doing soccer. So, but yeah, so we could use better parking signage.
I have another question. I know the soccer games, you say there's kind of a little bit of an overlap. Are these, is this something that's put together for the park district, or is this just general people having a soccer
I
game
think it's
that's
put on by the Park and
scheduled?
Recreation,
Okay.
department.
I didn't know if there was a schedule somewhere for this. Do we know of, Kevin, by chance?
I'm sure there is. I don't know if it's made publicly available.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of looking at the times for overlap, because I could see that when you have an overlap, you're doubling the people. And
yeah, or it seems
Trying
like
to
there's
come
an
and go.
overlap, because maybe parents from the one game that's held before first,
That's a side point.
want to hang around and talk with,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Or it could be they have kids on either
both
team.
times too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you are absolutely right. And then the kids run by the cars, and that's where it gets really
Scary.
kind of scary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your concerns, and we will be discussing this later on into our meetings and stuff.
Thank you very much.
I thank you.
Point of order, Chairperson Pincos.
Yes.
We did receive one email set of comments from a resident as well. I don't know if it'd be more appropriate to read that into the record here or to do so on the agenda item itself.
I think it would be more appropriate at this point here.
Okay.
Do we want to just put it as, we can't PowerPoint it, can we?
No, but I could certainly read it at least.
I got it right here. Is this one?
Yeah, that's the same thing. So, bear with me here a second. All right, this comment comes from Rosa Botello,
From where?
1036
Rosa?
You can go right up against the side.
Botello.
Bel-
I don't know if I'm
Botello.
pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. Hello, my name is Rosa Botello, homeowner of 1036 North Princeton Avenue. We were unable to attend the meeting but wanted to share our comments. We're also concerned with the number of cars parked in our neighborhood, specifically during Villa Park Soccer League season. Then we have some bullet points. Agree with bullet point 1, adding no street parking signs on park side, not residential side. Bullet 2, restricting parking and limiting to only Twin Lakes parking spaces. New list, we have do not agree with, bullet point, adding more parking spaces. And the reasons provided are, there's a parking lot on the southeast side of the park on Ardmore Avenue, and do not want to impact the local ecological system. In parentheses, no tree removal, vegetation removal, etc. This also negatively impacts the appeal and value of our neighborhood. And then a list of recommendations. Bullet point 1, included notice to parents when registering children for village programming, aka soccer league, to be respectful of residential parking restrictions. Bullet point 2, send a reminder to homeowners and residents that restriction applies to front easement as well. There's a note here regarding renters of one particular property on the block parking on both sides of the street, including overnight parking. And then the last bullet point recommendation is that parking enforcement should monitor this during high traffic and parking problem times, for example, Kids Soccer League, late April through early June. And it ends with looking forward to hearing what actions the commission will take. Thanks, Rosa Botello. And a copy of this is in the packet on page 44, and will of course also be included in the minutes for tonight's meeting. Thank you, Chairperson Pincos.
Okay, thank you. And do we have anybody else in the audience here that would like to comment on agenda items? If not, we'll move on to public comments on non-agenda items. I believe we have Mr. Tanner, I'm sorry.
That we need a four-way stop at Elm and Princeton, in Princeton and Division, because earlier this year, a kid was hit on Elm and Princeton and was dragged 25 feet. Luckily, they caught the guy. He ran, took off in his vehicle. And there's like bus stops, little kids got to cross by Elm, or Princeton and Division. That's what I want to say.
And what was the others? You have Elm and
Elm and Princeton and Division in Princeton.
Division, thank you.
I think four-way stops would be good there, because there's apartment buildings and little kids cross the street. And another thing is there's a big tree on the corner of Bierman and Holly Court. I got a picture of it if you want to see it. And you can't see anything to the right, which is east.
And that street location was again, please?
Bierman and Holly Court. I mean, up here.
St. Charles.
Have a
Block
good,
and Division total.
Holly Court and Bierman, so where is
Okay,
it?
and it's on public property?
Yes.
It's not.
no, it's not public, it's
Oh,
private.
it's yeah, private property. It's in the corner.
Okay, I see a sidewalk there,
So
okay.
that's an easy one. Sorry if I could.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
It's obviously not acceptable for privately owned landscaping to obstruct the public view, so I will pass that one along to code enforcement for them to deal with that.
So yeah, the four-way stops need to be done. That kid was hit and the guy took off.
Okay,
Do you know when that was?
It was like maybe a month or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy actually lives on Westmore in St. Charles area.
So the intersections are Elm in Princeton and Division in Princeton? Okay. And where was the child hit?
And Elm in Princeton.
Elm in Princeton.
And he was, a friend was there with him too. I don't know if he got hit too, but they mentioned that.
He what?
His friend was with him. I don't know if they both got hit at the same time, but he dragged a kid 25 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was released the same night, so.
Was he getting off the bus or something, or?
No, he was riding his bike.
Wow.
Yeah.
What time was it at?
I don't know exactly the time, but
Okay, and it, recently you were saying?
like a month or two ago.
Okay.
And these people just fly down there because they don't care. They usually use Elm as a shortcut from Ardmore to Addison Road, so.
Me too.
That's all I gotta say.
I would say
Thank you.
speed bump would be better.
Okay, do we have anybody else on non-agenda items that would like to speak at the moment? Okay, we do not. Bob, did you have another question? Though I remember seeing your hand up was answered, okay. Okay, let's go on to item number 6, presentations, in reference to Bob's report about bike, pedestrians, and transit subcommittee.
Yes, we had our meeting last month, and main focus of our meeting was setting our 2024, 2025 goals. I had mentioned before that we had a special Saturday meeting where members of the public were invited to come and speak. And so we're trying to refine those goals with the object of making a connection with the the bike and pedestrian master plan, and hopefully making some suggestions to staff for budgetary items so that those could be addressed. For example, like wayfinding signage, or other things that are called for in the bike pedestrian and master plan. We talked about village parking mandates. We talked about the presentation that KLOA made in front of the village board about the Villa Avenue Business District and the Ardmore Avenue Business District. And KLOA's findings were that we had more than sufficient parking in those areas, even with new developments coming online, to accommodate parking. So we were kind of discussing the issue of mandated parking, parking mandates, and what about bike parking? So we're going to be looking for possibly a model ordinance that deals with bike parking, because we think that, especially in close proximities to trails, having bike parking as well, adequate bike parking is important. Talked a little bit about the Tri-Trail connector and when ribbon cutting will occur. We talked about community outreach. One of our community outreach efforts was on Saturday. We were at the District 45 Tri-Town YMCA Back to School event, and talked to a lot of folks, and Chairman Pincos was there with us, and talked about some other events, and that pretty much concludes my report.
Okay. All right. Also, do you want to mention anything about our signs that we ended up?
Well, I think, is that on the agenda?
It is.
It is on the agenda?
I can,
Okay.
I can wait till it comes up on the
Okay.
agenda.
All right.
If you want to call on me, I'm happy to.
No, that'll be fine.
Sure.
That'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so that sounds good. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Do we want to bring this up at this moment or what? Because this is what Bob brought up.
So that's your call? It might be more appropriate for the new business or for public, or commission comments?
Comments, okay. So we can make that, okay. All right, we're going to move on to item number 7, approval of minutes. We're going to consider approval of minutes of June 4th, 2024. Hopefully everybody has looked at them. Do we have any comments, any amendments? Vicki, did you say something?
No,
Oh.
I said no.
Okay. Anybody else? And if not, or do you need a few more minutes to look it over again? Okay, therefore, I'm looking then for a motion to approve these minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Carol did.
Carl got it
Yeah.
first?
Yeah. Sorry about that, Vicky.
Beat ya.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, move on.
So we approve both minutes, is that what you're saying?
No, I approved only the June 4th.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on for the consideration and approval of the minutes of of July 2nd, 2024. Yes, Bob?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 2nd, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay,
Contest there.
all right. Your pick.
I think,
I didn't.
I think Di Tomaso was slightly sooner.
Okay. Okay.
Out of luck, Vicky.
We need the auto replay on this one.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 8, old businesses. Item number 898, drive like your kids live here signs. We did get these signs in. I will thank both Joe and Bob, mental thing. But thank you for your efforts in getting that together and stuff. The signs are now officially over at the police department. And actually at the event that Bob was at on Saturday, Bob brought about 40 signs over there, and I'll let you take it from there, Bob.
Yeah, so thank you, Chairman Pincos. We got Chairman Pincos' permission and copied Chief Rivas, Deputy Chief McCann, so we got 40 signs. We thought that we would do more, but we did distribute 27 signs.
Okay.
And then got permission to distribute them tonight
Okay.
at National Night Out. And I didn't take a count, but we at least distributed at least 27, probably more.
Okay.
And other events coming up, the Lufkin Park ribbon cutting would be an opportunity. And I think it was mentioned that the Community Focus on Unifying Neighbors Autumn Jubilee would be another opportunity to distribute them as well.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome, thank you.
In addition, I reached out to Riley tonight. Bob's going to be sending her a copy of a press release he drafted. She took some pictures of the signs, and she's going to be doing some social media, letting people know that they can get the signs at the police station
Okay.
anytime, so.
Okay, great. All right, that's great. Any other comments? I do. It sounds like I'm kind of recalling, and I've talked to Bob about it last time, is when we had these signs, it took a little over a year to distribute all these signs and I think what we're doing right now in reference to having it available at any time from the police department, but also if we have these community events that, especially with children that might be involved, that we might try to, if one of us on the commission here is involved with that event, maybe bring some of those signs and have like a booth or something like that set up. I think that's a great way for getting that out to the public. So, yes.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity that you gave us. We kind of set up a little easel and, of course, put a little thing underneath, distributed on behalf of Traffic and Safety Commission. So we're trying to tell folks, we're distributing, but this is coming out of the Traffic and Safety Commission's budget.
Correct. Thank you very much on that part.
And I'm happy to send you a copy, and Kevin, and proof of the press release.
Okay, great. So, if anybody else is involved or knows something that's, an event that's involved and that maybe you guys would like to be there and, you know, distribute them at that time, I think that's one of our best ways to outreach and get those signs out on the streets. Any other comments on this subject? Okay. I do have a question. Do we feel that we need to leave this on our agenda?
I think it's been fulfilled.
It's open to any more
Well,
comments.
I'm just wondering about following distribution of them, you know, when we run out, that sort of thing, or if, how well they're getting circulated, that kind of thing. It wouldn't be a bad idea to keep track of that somehow. I don't know if we need to leave it on the agenda, but then, you know, I guess we could take it up again next year, for next year.
Well, maybe we could put it on, let's say, in 3 months to revisit it.
Well, I'm in favor of having it brought up at our comments at the end of the meetings, and we can eliminate this at the moment for being on an agenda item type situation. Joe, Bob, myself are pretty much on tap with the police department and it being distributed.
Okay.
So I think we can make a simple comment in reference to how they're going and stuff. Like I said, last time when it sat at the police department, we did know that it took a while for it to get out.
Right.
It seems like people don't want to go get it, but if it's right there and to hand out, that seems to
I
be.
think already we're doing a better job of creating awareness than we did the first time. You know, like you said, Bob and Joe did a great job. I think you guys got it going, got things rolling, and kudos.
Okay. So do we have a motion then to remove this from the,
I'll make that motion.
okay.
I'm going to second that motion.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, good. Moving on to item number 900, parking restrictions on Princeton south of Belden. And, okay. That was obviously, we had somebody in the audience here in the, that made their comments, and we had somebody give us the email. Has any of the commissioners been able to go out and look at that site? Any more comments on it? Bob?
I think I mentioned that I had been there before. I tried ringing a few doorbells and didn't really, I think one resident came to the door. It sounds like this is mainly a issue when soccer, you know, when there are soccer games going on, and is that pretty much correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Okay. I drove past there this weekend, and I just drove past. That's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit late, because I did drive past just before it got dark. And it looks like they have 2 soccer fields per se for the younger kids, and obviously a much younger group. There's this real small one versus a little bit larger one there and stuff. Yes?
Yes, would we be, if this is an arrangement with the games scheduled to the Ville Park District, is there a possibility we could get an email on when the soccer scheduled times are? I would like to look at this during those soccer games while this is going on,
see what
get
you're
a
saying.
better, you know,
Understanding.
flavor, understanding of what's actually happening at that moment and be able to see it.
I can reach out and ask for that.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I'm just going off of the email. Let me just.
Sure.
I was just going off of the email that was sent to us by Rosa Botello, and it seems her indication is the kids soccer league is late April, early June. Do they have a fall soccer league?
I thought that they did, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. All right.
I haven't been able, I didn't look into the programming for this fall season yet, for the parks.
Okay, thank you. So, on that behalf, that could be a whole year from now.
Okay, I just would like to be able to see and experience what's happening.
No, I understand what you're saying.
And just driving by when there's nothing going on, it's kind of hard to picture exactly how, you know.
Okay. I'm just gonna have one more thing about the parking spots there. There is approximately 16 official parking spots that I could see, if my count is right. I ran out a few fingers, but we got there. So just to keep that in mind in reference to if there is a soccer event happening there, I would say 16 parking spaces might cover one team, not two teams. And then if you got two games going on at the same time, in reference to that too. Okay, Bob?
My question is, and I've gone through Twin Lakes parking lot a number of times. I seem to recollect that there may be 25 or 30 parking spaces there. I'm wondering if those are all full when there's a soccer game, and that's the reason people are moving over. You know,
Point well taken.
yeah.
I will add to that point. My question is, there's also either a softball field or a baseball field right there.
Baseball.
And I'm sure that also goes on during the early spring, late spring, early summer. And I don't know how that is affected, but I would say that would be on Saturdays for sure, would be at the same times.
When my son was playing baseball, it was often during the week.
So some of
But
the
I
center.
imagine there were some Saturday games, but they rotate around. They're not just at one field, you know.
No, totally, but I'm just saying, if there is an event at the baseball diamond, okay, and as Bob was pointing out, it's how many did you count out? 45? There's 45. I don't know if that would be sufficient enough to cover both events. How many you got? 3. Okay, looks like from a Google aerial, looks like there's possibly 3 soccer fields. Okay, which is right next to the area that, the off-street parking that we're talking about on Princeton. So, okay, Vicky?
So just kind of looking at the area, is there like any possibility of adding parking like when down Yale? Because it looks like there's just like a dead ends into there and there's like just a grassy field next to it. On the other side of the field, if you go to Yale. It's
Yale.
like Belden and then it dead ends, like it's going into the circle. There's like a sidewalk that goes into the playground area. But then there's another area where there's like, I see a couple trucks there, but it looks like it's just like a grassy field when I look at it. To me,
Are you talking about Ardmore?
No,
Yale.
it says,
I'm sorry, we're kind of,
oh, it is, yeah, Ardmore, sorry, my fault.
That's right by the
I know
ballpark.
it's north, that's all. It's Ardmore.
Too busy seconding things.
Oh, sure.
okay, but is that our jurisdiction?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if we could take a look at it and see if that's a plausible place to put some extra parking.
I don't know where you could put the parking.
Like, on the west side of it? You could make it wider, or and then put the spots perpendicular.
Well,
like they are.
really, what we would have to see is where the village property is per se, and versus the private property. That would be where the village right away is.
Right, yeah, so yeah, I was just saying if we could take a look at it, I don't know the thoughts.
And I don't know if that would solve the situation in reference to it, because that also seems like a walk from where the 42 parking stalls are out to the soccer field, if I saw that correctly. Possibly not. Okay, I see. All right, no, it could possibly happen that you can put a few parking scenarios there, but I think that as it stands right now, I think we should look into it a little bit closer. However, on the east side of Princeton, of the area that we're talking about at the moment, too, the east side is the fire hydrants are on that side. I don't know how that, Kevin, you can answer that for me. Is that a village ordinance? Correct me, yes or not? No
So,
parking?
with regard to the hydrants on Princeton, they're actually on the west side? I apologize, I'm not sure which one you mentioned.
I thought, do I have the wrong side of the street?
Princeton hydrants are for
So
sure
that's
on the west side.
north. It's on the west side. Okay, I was going the wrong way.
And I know that there's been discussion by the commission that there is a village ordinance that prohibits parking on the fire hydrant side of the street, but that's actually not the case. Just to reiterate that, when deciding which street to prohibit parking, if there is a desire to prohibit on one or the other, the hydrants are taken into consideration, but there is no blanket ordinance prohibiting parking on the fire hydrant side of a street outright.
Okay. And at the present time, there is no parking signs on either side of those streets in this location.
There is?
There
There is not.
Correct.
That's what I thought, okay.
There is not. And in reference to roughly the width of the road from my Google map, I had somewhere between 16 and 17 feet wide is the existing width of the road. So, yes, it is narrow in reference to it. I guess I'm going to turn to our resident from there. Do you, when you have an event at your house in reference to it, do they basically park on your side of the road and into the, obviously, grass area, ditch area, whatever you want to call it, that right-of-way area? Or do you basically end up having them all in and the rest of the residents have them all in your driveways?
Well, first of all, we would fill up our driveway, but then if we had a few extra stragglers, it would be right immediately in front of our grassy area, but it would be on the edge
Okay.
of the street. Or else, if there's nothing going on in the park, they would take advantage of the parking in the park's parking lot.
Okay. So. Yes, Joe?
I've got a couple things. Just so I'm clear, I've got the letter from the other resident. Are you advocating for no parking completely on both sides of the streets or just on the park side?
I think what I'm thinking of, when we have the most difficult time, is when the soccer games are scheduled. Otherwise, we don't have people trying to park on our grass or into the grassy area of the park. So I think it mainly, to me, the solution would be if parks can look at the timing of their schedule, make sure, I would suggest, make sure there's no ball games going on at the softball field, which I don't think is going on. I don't remember any, where they would be scheduled at the same time. But I think people are, like you're saying, they want to park as close as they can to not have to walk that far. And so that's why we're having all this issue along Princeton. So it would be better, from what I understand, even from the letter that was sent in, to not have people park on the grass.
On the park side?
Yeah, on the park side. And then also, as part of the recreational programming, on the residents' grass as well. Because the people who come in, they're not treating that as anything that they need to have concern about. They're not caring if they're going in when the ground is soft and they're making ruts into the soil and they're disturbing everything
Right.
that we're trying to make nice.
Well, part of my concern here also is that on the west side of the street, you have fire hydrants.
Yes.
And if you've got, it's a narrow street to begin with. If you've got a variety of cars parked on that west side and something does happen, let's say down at your house, it's going to be difficult for fire apparatus to even get down that street, much less connect with fire hydrants and things like that. So that's another consideration.
The concern I never even thought of.
And so part of me is leaning towards no parking except in the parking spaces on both sides of the street. I don't think if you're going to have visitors, would it be a problem for them to park, if they can't park in your driveway, to park in those parking spaces?
No, not at all. The only difficulty would be like, I'm thinking of other residents that are on that street. My daughter now is in her 30s, so I'm no longer doing birthday parties, you know, for little kids. But at one time when my daughter was little, her birthday is in April, and so we would be having her, trying to have her birthday on a Saturday, and if there's an event going on, an athletic event, it would be difficult to have parking, you know, with the games going on. So I might, you know, as a resident, I probably would have tried to schedule it maybe in later afternoon, but
Sure.
again, like you noticed, there's no way of really knowing when the games are scheduled. For a resident to even be able to try to cooperatively schedule a family event around that. So that just causes hard feelings, you know, because you're trying to arrange something for your family, and then this is going, you know, something might be going on at the park.
Right.
So, yeah, I hear it. So maybe the police department might know if we knew we were having a special event, we wanted to allow our family members to park on that grassy side of our property, because we know that they're going to care about our grass. They're not going to be making ruts into it and everything.
Right.
That we could call and ask permission for that, and then whoever we would call would know what the schedule is for the park, and they could say, well, we got games going on.
Well, Parks and Rec should be able to give you
Yeah.
a
Well,
schedule of when
Yeah.
those fields are going to be in use.
Yes. I hope, yeah.
I
don't
would-
think it's published anywhere, and I can understand that's all probably last minute planning when they're taking the registration.
I have no
I
idea.
have no idea, yeah.
I would imagine at some point, though, that they could publish something.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a schedule. So, but I'm more concerned about the narrowness of the street and fire apparatus and things like that. Not even just for a fire, if a kid gets hurt.
Yeah, if a child gets hurt and they have to send first responders down that street, you know, and all the parking is taken up.
Yeah.
Where is the ambulance going to end up going? Well, they'll be probably in the street, you know, and then that's.
They'll park in the other parking lot and walk over. So, I'm good.
Okay. So, at the moment, I don't see a real clear, defined way of handling this at the moment. It's going to be somewhat unique in reference to it, because if you start putting up no parking signs, then unfortunately, the residents have a problem with that in reference to it. So, I mean, because it have to affect the residents that are there. I really think we should think a little bit more.
Yeah.
Come in and see, get an idea in reference to it. I don't know, like I said, I think there is a fall soccer league time too. Okay, and just when I did go in past tonight, there was a group coming off, probably at least 15 kids, along with maybe 5 or 6 parents. Nobody was parked in those spots over there.
That's right.
So I would just assume that's a fall league starting up possibly, or I don't know. But I'm thinking that we really need to think about this and address it a little bit more, because I don't want to start throwing out the idea of putting stops or no parking signs up there, and it'll affect the residents, and we have, what, 6 or 7 residents on that block there. And I'm not sure, it's a catch-22 as far as I'm looking at it right now.
Maybe Parks Department could put up H-frames, you know, H-frame signs. Those are temporary signs that they could, the coach could put up and say, no parking on this side, no parking over here by this grass, you know, more parking up over there by the main parking lot, just so parents know. I think it's the communication that we just need to let the parents know. And maybe it would be wise to leave a spot open in case emergency responders had to come. In those parking spots right there, you know, that are out the parking lot, maybe leave 2 spots open for a first responder if they needed to come in. You know, just so that there's ability to get care to those kids if they get hurt or a parent gets hurt. So just those are just ideas.
No, we definitely want to take some time to think about this and hopefully make the right choices for everybody there, the residents and the people that are using the park in reference to it too. I think there's some simple ways to cover it, but it will affect other people that are using this park, not just for soccer, that might just want to use it for themselves, to go out there and play soccer or whatever, fly a kite in the park and stuff, and utilize that use of that parking lot over there. So I'd like to table this and everybody kind of get a chance to go out there and take a look at it. And we'll bring it up at our next meeting in September.
Is there a way we could find out the next couple of soccer games that might be taking place?
I've reached out to request that information already, so.
Okay.
That way we have the opportunity to go take a look at during the game and see
Okay.
what's going on.
I'm all for it. Whatever. I'm sure if you went and talked to, or called up the park district, they would be able to let you know if there is fall leagues going on and when they do play. I mean, it looked like it was a small, I'm assuming that they're younger kids, they're not older kids that are playing on this soccer field.
I would say that they're elementary grade. ages.
Right. So this might be only possibly only a Saturday?
There are
Event?
some evening games too as well.
Okay.
Not late evening, but
Right. Okay. So, everybody in favor of getting more information, get some more thoughts, come up with some great ideas, and we'll just table this until next meeting.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 900. Oh, wait, we just did that. Yeah. Okay, pardon me. But there is an item that I thought,
From
Brandy
last,
wine.
yeah, Brandywine.
Mr. Perez had brought up about parking.
yes, and I thought we made that an agenda.
I
Yeah.
apologize, did I miss that?
Yes, and that's why I looked down at it. Okay.
Okay, well, that would be 901 then. Point of order, do we need to go back and amend or I guess rescind the approval of the minutes from the July meeting?
I'm sorry, what item are we saying we're missing?
We're missing the item that was brought up last time in reference to the Brandywine area parking.
Right.
Okay, and I did, obviously, Michael was here, and so Kevin wasn't there for the situation, but I thought we made that an item to look into and discuss at this meeting. So, I guess, do we just,
Well, there can be discussion. Unfortunately, there cannot be any formal vote or anything like that. So again, I apologize, I missed that it was added at the last meeting.
okay,
So I need to go back and revisit that. and-
okay. So one,
We can add it to an agenda for this time, though. We can give it a new number and create
well,
it now.
I believe it's a 901 is what we
Yeah.
gave it to him. And we just make sure that it's on the agenda for
Absolutely.
next time. However, to bring us up to status in reference to that, unfortunately, I did not get out to that area to check it out. I've been there twice, but I kept on forgetting where the village lines are, and I believe also, help me, I believe that's also DuPage County, am I correct? In reference to York Township.
Yeah, on the-
So who's responsible for patrolling there? The county?
Well, that was another question that I thought was going to be brought with an answer, but
Actually, I
So
asked
the
that.
area under village control is on the east side of Michigan, of South Michigan, going from Roosevelt Road to Canterbury, which is kind of the limit of the Parham Apartments.
Yeah, not to Roosevelt, just like part of, because there's a commercial area after the apartments.
Right, I know that. Bell Tire is there, et cetera, yeah.
Quick clarification.
sure.
It's actually both sides, both east side and west side.
East and west, okay.
Without going into too much detail, and particularly because most commissioners can't see my screen, when an area is incorporated when parcels are incorporated into the village, if the opposite side of that street is still unincorporated, unless there's been a boundary agreement, the entire right-of-way becomes the village's jurisdiction. So anybody who's looking at the DuPage County boundary is unfortunately looking at the wrong thing. The county does not show it correctly. So Villa Park does have jurisdiction over the entire right-of-way from Roosevelt down to Canterbury Lane. No further than that, though.
Okay.
East
If
and
it's helpful, I
west.
can provide a map showing that to commissioners for site visits or just for information.
Well, just for clarification as to what we have jurisdiction over.
Sure.
Okay.
But bottom line is both sides of the street, right-of-way to right-of-way from Roosevelt down to Canterbury.
Okay.
So if you could send that out, Kevin, sometime this week, and so that we can look into this.
Is
Okay.
Canterbury the very last street, which is considered 16th?
I don't believe so. I think that's,
I think that's 16th all the way through, isn't it?
yeah, 16th all the way through.
16th is, when you come down Michigan, that's 16th.
Canterbury and 16th are two different things.
Yeah. I think that's Canterbury.
That's Lowell.
I believe there's like two Canterbury's.
There we go. Okay, that's just the first, okay, I got it.
This is all,
So we go down to that point there,
that's the
and then the rest of that's York Township.
That's just Michigan.
Okay.
I understand that, but why is it our responsibility to park? So
And I believe York Township is patrolled by the DuPage County Sheriffs.
Yeah,
And that's-
but,
that-
when I got the tickets,
we need to pay for the
like
parking.
a parking violation, it was from the Villa Park Village.
Okay, which is what Kevin was just mentioning, that's, okay.
And just like a little note to it, that road is wide enough for, even if there's like a parked on one side, there's still enough there for like a two-way traffic. So there's space for two-way traffic and one lane of parking.
Before we go any further, I'm thinking, and I ask Kevin, is when we get into the York Township side, are we totally can do what we need to do, or do we, if we put up certain signage that is on York Township side, do we have to pass that past them and ask them for any comments?
I would say no. It would probably be a good courtesy just to give them a heads up that we are considering it. But as I mentioned, the village has full jurisdiction of that right away down to Canterbury. So there shouldn't be any reason that the village couldn't proceed to put up, enact, I guess actually it would be relaxing parking restrictions in this case, but there shouldn't be any reason that Villa Park cannot enact that without York Township approval or involvement.
Okay. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, since it isn't an agenda item, we cannot consider to go any further probably with this at the moment. Yes, go ahead, Vicky.
I just have a question just concerning this. So basically what they're saying is that there's not enough parking within Brandywine, correct? They need additional parking. So just to ask the question, so why is it the village's responsibility to provide parking? Because I believe Brandywine is an HOA now. Is it they're like condo association? So why would it be our responsibility to provide additional parking for an HOA?
Well, that's why we need to look into
So we're
this.
doing this- Okay, so that's what I'm kind line up we're going down that road, or are we just looking at, because it sounds like we're just looking at what we can do versus how we have to inform York Township. So that's, sorry, what I was kind of hearing.
Yes, Bob?
So, yeah, I think the concern with allowing overnight parking is we don't want cars sitting there, we don't want potentially abandoned cars, so I can see a drawback to allowing overnight, to just allowing overnight parking.
Yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I'd be a hard no on overnight parking,
Okay.
just because it's too much of a magnet for abandoned cars and things like that that you have to deal with.
So officially, I'm going to cut this off. I just would like to have everybody else look into it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, it'll be on our agenda items coming up for our September meeting, and then we will discuss further in details of the pros and the cons, and see where we go with that point there.
Okay.
Am I allowed to comment on that?
I'll let you make a comment, yes?
Yeah, I mean, it's like same as last time. It's
Should he come up to the microphone?
mainly this concern. Yeah, it's from
come up to the
the brand new white residents.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Yeah, like I said, ever since that incident on June 8th where everybody got ticketed that morning, it's still like people are still parking there, and it's just like I said, it's brought a lot more good than bad for like concerns like term used the village would be providing parking for Brandywine residents, not necessarily just be like doesn't have to be a permanent thing to let people park there overnight. It could just be like we might have like a nice like a probationary period if it's such a huge concern or like anything like that, or
Well, we generally don't allow that anywhere else in town. So you're asking for something beyond what.
I mean
we do
it's
everywhere
it's
else.
easy to say no, but like
Have you brought this to your association and asked them for,
it's outside their jurisdiction.
no, I mean, but within their jurisdiction, have they addressed additional parking issues?
Yes, we put 72-hour parking limits, parking limits within whatever they're in control of. There's time limits there now.
Have they looked at putting additional spaces? It seems like that seems to be the challenge.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just kind of
Yeah,
curious.
I'm gonna cut this, okay? I'll let you have a couple minutes on this. Yes, you're basically repeating what you said the last time you were here.
Yeah.
And I do not want to continue this on until we have an official agenda item, and then we can basically take action and decide what we're gonna do and publicly talk about this on our committee and stuff. So I apologize it was not added on. It was
It's my fault. Oversight.
oversight, correct, and stuff. So, sorry.
All right, no problem.
Okay. However, adding new business, we did have a situation come up at something that wasn't on, and that's adding stop signs. And I wrote down the locations on one of my papers. Elm in Princeton and the Vision in Princeton. I don't know enough about the location, okay? But I would like to, I don't know if we should put, I think we should put these on as separate items,
Yes,
because
Yeah.
if one intersection warrants it and another one doesn't.
right.
So since we have a 902 coming up, and basically let's make that in reference to stop signs at Elm and Princeton.
Four-way stops.
Four-way, well, we have to just start with stops,
Yeah, there's stop signs on north and south.
north and south. Okay, so we'll be looking at that then. in reference to it, and that is also where the accident with the child was, with the bike, okay? And we can maybe look into that, if we can get a police report on that, and go from there. And then 903 would be stop signs, looking at it, the stop signs, adding stop signs at Division and Princeton. Do we have to vote for this or no?
Typically in the past, there has been a vote to add a new agenda item.
Okay, so let's go back on 902, stop signs at Elm and Princeton. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Okay, so Bob and Vicky, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any nays? Okay, and then 903 will be the stop signs at Division and Princeton.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We got,
Di Tomaso, Wagner.
okay, I guess. Okay, any, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, so we're adding those two on. I don't believe we got anything else in reference from this, emails or anything else.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. All right.
Do we have their information so that we can email, phone number, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, if you'd like us to keep in touch with you, Mr. Tanner, if you could, if you want, you don't have to, but provide. So, we'll redact it from the public record, but if you add it to your request to speak, then we can provide you with responses as those come up.
Yes.
After the meeting is fine.
After, okay. Okay. So if we don't have any other new businesses to be added, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 10. Yes, Bob?
We had added an agenda item, the budget, commission budget.
Oh, you are correct, and I forgot to write that down. Okay. Do we have to give that a number too?
I don't think we'd need an item number. I think we could just
add it to as a...
Just agree that it was added, I think, either after new business or as a part of new business.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Bob, would you like to?
So I brought this issue up last year, and I want to just preface what I'm about to say, that this has nothing against Kevin. I know Kevin is very hardworking. He has a lot on his plate, and we used to have a second, I'm going to call it a second liaison. We had Amy Raffle, and she took minutes. And I think that I was talking to the village manager, and the forms for commission budgets will be going out August 21st. And they're due back on September 27th. And I would like to see us, as part of our budget, submit for either someone who would transcribe the minutes, do the minutes from the recording, or actually being here, in person, whichever makes more sense. Because it would take something off Kevin's plate, and so that we could maybe help the commission function a little better. And once again, I completely understand, Kevin's main job is not doing the minutes for the commission. So if we could find out what the cost would be to have a staff member take on that responsibility and, add that to our budget, I think that would be a good thing.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners?
Regarding that, or just in general?
In general, in reference, in general to that item.
Yes, I do have a comment about
Yes.
that. The budget for this commission used to be used for that purpose. And I have been told that nobody wants to do it. So that's why Kevin got saddled with all this stuff. And,
Transcribing audio or video files in...
do you need attention over there, Vicky?
Well, I was looking looking up apps that would actually transcribe your meetings. So you wouldn't actually need to be a person, but there are plenty of apps, AI apps out there that could possibly transcribe. Possibility, just to look into.
That may be viable, because if they can do it from recordings,
Right.
they don't have to be here, which is the reason that we can't get anybody.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna touch base on that.
Okay.
Okay, the last time I, basically been told is that we cannot, we do not, as Carl just said, we do not have anybody that from the village that wants to come, except Kevin raised his hand, and really do this. And Kevin did raise his hand for this, and it is an extra burden on him. I greatly appreciate that, though, Kevin.
We all do.
Yes,
very
we
much
all
so.
do.
Okay. I did have a conversation a couple of weeks ago with our village manager, and I did bring that up a little bit. And he said that they have been constantly talking to, seeing if somebody from the office or something that would be interested in doing that. I think there was a couple new hirees.
Yeah, if you want, I can speak to it.
Okay.
So, and I'd just like to preface this with, I think hiring somebody to be here to take minutes for the meetings in real time would probably be the best option in terms of accuracy of the minutes and making sure that all questions are answered. That said, I have been denied requests for that to happen. So by all means, please put in the budget request. I wish you the best of luck. I have not had any success. I have not had any success with that to date. That said, the backup plan, which was to use staff to use the YouTube recordings to prepare minutes, is still the plan. It's just we have had so much staff turnover in the last 6 to 9 months. We've had nobody stay in a position long enough to actually take it on. So we are currently in a position where we've got a couple newer employees or employees in newer roles who we expect to pass those minutes off to. We were just giving them a chance to onboard sufficiently in new roles before adding something else to the plate.
Okay.
So just some food for thought. Not trying to discourage the request at all.
All right, Joe, you had your hand up first.
What do other commissions do?
My understanding is that with the exception of planning and zoning, which has to have a court reporter added for legal reasons, I believe all of the other commissions have a commission member or, similar to this one, an employee preparing minutes for consideration. And I think there are a few people here who are on other commissions and could speak to that.
Yes, Bob.
So I'm on, like, pedestrian and transit,
right.
and I'm on, of course, environmental concerns. We have a commissioner who does take minutes and then submits them to us. Likewise, bike, pedestrian, and transit, we have a commissioner who does the same. When Video Production Commission was in full force and meeting, I actually took minutes, and, so it's not a complex thing, it's, it's just faithfully putting down what occurred, and who made the motion, et cetera, who seconded it, so.
Okay.
I can tell you, I wouldn't do it for this commission. Not that it's just a lot of, it's a lot of work to do it.
For this commission, you are totally correct. And that is the reason, if I believe, going back, Carl, you've gone back that far, and Karen, that was the reason why they ended up, in reference to having somebody here to actually take the minutes, in reference to it, that was their sole job, is to write down all the information that was happening amongst the commissioners, and basically to...
There were other parts to it that that person would be the person to contact in regards to any traffic and safety commission business through Village Hall, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I know that they got a certain amount of money for each time they were here,
They got compensated some way.
Somewhat, yes, in addition to their normal pay. If they did it, they got the compensation, and it was a set amount. It wasn't based on how much time or anything like that. But yeah, that primarily it was to take the minutes, but also it was like a communication person through that could be spoken to through the village. If folks wanted to ask questions about the meetings and stuff, they would generally refer to that person.
Okay. So, with that being said, and when this budget request comes out, which should be shortly, we will request again to see if we can get enough money to enhance somebody to possibly do this for us.
Would that be in addition to doing the drive safe signage?
That's a possibility. Now, the situation with our signs, just so we all know in reference to this, obviously our budget did not cover that, and that we had to specifically go to the village manager to have it taken care of. And basically, he approved it because he thought it was a great idea, and he can do that. And I believe, Bob, you're really good at this. It's like anything under $10,000 that.
20,000.
Well, yeah,
25,000.
$5,000 the manager can approve, yeah.
Right. So that's how that stands, and that's the reason, and that's also the reason why I understand our budget ended up or dwindled as it did in reference to that. So if we want to come across other ideas that are very useful for our village, and we feel help the safety of our village and everything else, that's the reason why we can go and ask for whatever we're looking for and see if, and state our goals and our opinions on it and see where it goes. So, yeah, if these signs end up disappearing here in another month, we could possibly end up going in there and asking to have some more signs be made. Now, will they approve it or not? I don't know what's in his cookie jar, but that's how that works.
Sure.
So, at the
I could
moment.
make a recommendation.
Yes.
If you don't ask for it, you're definitely not gonna get it. If you ask for it, the worst that could happen is it gets turned down.
Right.
So, that would be my advice.
So I would suggest we put this budget issue, in general, the budget issue, on next meeting, because if I'm understanding the dates correctly, we have to make decision and submit it next meeting.
It might even be sooner than that.
It might be sooner.
I think we
Well,
say September 1st?
our next meeting is
September 3rd.
3rd.
And it's also a holiday weekend.
But I thought that we had to have the budget stuff done by, I think he said the 21st?
No, it's coming out around, he mentioned this month around the 20th, and you have 1 month roughly to return that back in. Yes, Bob?
He said, according to the schedule that they have, boards and commission budgets will be sent out on August 21st. They're due back on September 27th.
Okay.
So,
I thought it was the 1st. I thought I heard 1st in that.
Yeah.
So,
right. So typically you have just over a month, and that's how it has been in reference to it. It comes to me, and I usually sit there and, like I said, I put in what we had for last year, and I believe it was, my recollection was it was around $2,200.
Around there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, that's good. Okay, I'm not going to ask for more because we didn't spend it. And obviously, when you don't spend stuff on a commission, they will sit there and say, it's like,
Well,
not
you didn't
necessary.
spend
We're
it.
going to put it somewhere else. But we will put something in and see if we can somehow intrigue somebody to come and
That
do
was my
that.
point, is at the next meeting, maybe we should plan to discuss this, and if anybody over the next month comes up with ideas as to stuff we would want to do next year, we can discuss putting it into the budget request now. But we've
Okay.
only got one meeting to do that. is
You,
what-
you have one meeting, and I'm just gonna say one thing right now. We don't have a huge budget, okay? It took an effort to get up from where we were roughly around $750. It was an effort to get it up to 1,000, and then I asked to try to double it to intrigue people to come in and do the secretarial work. They did up it, but we still couldn't get somebody to come in and do it. So with that, yes.
If it helps, I guess just to clarify, the issue wasn't we couldn't get somebody to come in at the larger 2,200 amount. There was a snafu with the budget itself, where you put in that budget request, the budget that was published did not have it represented. It still showed the 750 or whatever had been there before. So
Okay.
we assumed that the request had been rejected. It wasn't until another commissioner, I apologize, I don't recall who, but somebody noted around September or October that we actually did in fact have a $2,200 or $2,000 budget for the commission.
500.
No, this was actually last year. It was actually 2,000 or 2,200. I don't remember the exact
This
dollar.
year.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. But by the time it was noted that the budget had been revised to reflect the requested amount, it was too late to get somebody on board.
Okay.
And then, despite requesting the same amount this year, it was rejected and reduced back to 500.
Yes, Pat?
I'd like to ask, maybe if Kevin could assist us and say, well, what should we put in the budget for a second person to do that? And maybe it should be on the high end, to say, because they're going to say, well, how did you come to this conclusion? How did you come to this figure? So if we could have some evidence what that will cost, I think it'd be helpful.
There was, those calculations were figured out in again, I apologize, I don't know the exact dollar amount, but it was calculated based on what it was believed would take somebody to come in after hours to attend the meeting and prepare minutes and get everything ready and do all the things that was discussed in terms of liaison responsibilities.
Okay. So, from that point there, we'll just wait for this, the budget request coming out, which should be in just over a week.
We'll make this an agenda item for next meeting.
So, do we make it an agenda item, or do?
It wouldn't be a bad idea,
think
just
it
to
would
make
be a
sure
good
it's
idea.
discussed and.
No.
Okay,
904.
904.
okay, so 9:04.
Budget.
In that case, I think we should follow the same.
I make a motion.
Yes.
Seconded.
Yeah. So, okay, hold on.
The first one of the evening, we're taking it back.
Yeah, well, first off, so we're having 9:04, and it's for our fiscal budget.
Right.
Okay? And then we just ended, as I was saying this, Karen,
I seconded, he made the
Okay.
motion.
so
I first did it.
Carl and Karen.
He firsted.
All right. With that being said, I believe we can move on to item number. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? No. Okay.
She meant no, there's no nays.
Wait.
Poor Jay.
Okay, commissioners' comments. We're going right to Vicky before she.
I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move to Carl and we'll just move on.
I have nothing.
Okay, Karen? Jack?
Nothing.
Bob?
I would just like to revisit, there was some discussion, Commissioner Little brought up some concerns, specifically the intersection of St. Charles and
And
Ardmore. And Director Guerra, who was here, said that we didn't make it we didn't assign a number to it, but there were certain steps that we could take to address some of those issues at that intersection. For example, refreshing striping, maybe allowing more time for pedestrians to cross before right-hand turns can be made, or some signage. And I wanted to know, and I thought that her remarks were, there was validity to what she said, and I wanted to know if we had made any progress on those.
And to answer your question, Kevin has an answer for you because he has some preliminary idea, some stuff that has been talked about, but it has not been official yet, if I'm correct with this.
Well, I guess maybe the easy answer is that there are a couple, I believe the words that were used, something that needs to be cheap and can be done quickly. There are unfortunately not too many things that fall into that category, but there are a couple things. First of all, let me start by saying that unfortunately staff did not have time to pull the traffic crash reports that was obviously discussed. I don't think Michael was aware of the time and effort involved in that. The state's database is very difficult to navigate, but we're working on it. So hopefully we will have those compiled by the next Traffic and Safety Commission meeting, at which point Commissioner Little should be in attendance anyways and can weigh in on the conversation. In the meantime, however, there are two things we're proposing. One is on this attached sketch, which I will add to the public record, which would be the installation of 4 stop for pedestrian signs at the 4 potential right turn lanes of the intersection. I believe there was discussion at the meeting, at least from reviewing the video, of adding no turn on red with pedestrians present. But if I understand correctly, the issue isn't turning on red when pedestrians are present, rather than vehicles proceeding on a green light even though pedestrians have a walk signal, which is a violation of state law. This, I think, would address that more appropriately if the commission's in agreement. The other thing is, building on the striping, the version of the MUT, I don't know if people can see this, but the version of the MUTCD that was approved in December and is now, sorry, bear with me here 1 second. Hopefully everybody can see this. The version of the MUTCD that was approved in December now allows what is referred to as high visibility crosswalks to be placed in any location where additional visibility for a crosswalk is deemed beneficial. There was a point in time where they were reserved for school zones. That's no longer the case, so we would propose that basically a hybrid version of the longitudinal bar and the ladder be used at the 4 legs of the St. Charles and Ardmore intersection. Is it going to deter motorists who blatantly disobey the law? No, but at least it will provide additional visibility and hopefully a reminder to some. Jumping back to the question of signal timing or anything like that, unfortunately, any changes to lane configurations, signal timing, etc., falls into the category of engineering study and requiring additional coordination. So I believe there was conversation about the possibility of modifying the signals. Unfortunately, that's a very hefty undertaking. One thing Michael did not mention at the last meeting is that the interconnect that controls the signals on St. Charles Road is ultimately controlled by IDOT. So even moving forward with something like that ahead of the IDOT overseen project that's coming up would still require IDOT coordination to change. So it would not be eliminating the bureaucracy above the village's head from the process, unfortunately. My recommendation would be that these are the things we can think of as staff to do now in the interim that are quick, that are easy, don't even require any ordinance recommendations because this is already state law, and we can move forward with the additional engineering study with the project that's coming up. So,
Joey had a question for you, and I'll have one after him.
All right. I spoke with Tricia over the last couple of weeks about this on a few occasions. And my understanding from her is that her concern is just being able to cross the street safely, and that the problem that gets created when you have right turn on red drivers is that sometimes that safety can be compromised, in her opinion.
So it was concerns about right turn on red, not just...
Specifically about right, her original thought was to eliminate the right turn on red completely.
I didn't get that either, but
No, that was not.
No, that, after my conversations with her, I found out a little bit different, but that's where she was thinking, was on the right turn on red, which is why I said to you that we look at that kind of a ordinance where there'd be a fine involved and a no right turn on red when pedestrians are around, and subsequently Michael had talked about the upcoming project with that intersection, and why I suggested at that point, maybe we have a right turn on red arrow with a red that can be triggered by pressing a crosswalk button.
And I would support that. It's,
But
obviously,
that would be down the road, though, when they do, everything else.
I can't stress enough how expensive traffic signals
Oh, no,
are.
I know, I'm aware.
So,
This would just be one, though.
However, I will add to that, traffic signals have basically almost tripled in cost in the last 18 months. Tripled,
Really?
yes.
Any particular reason for that?
global supply chain, all of the components have become far more expensive and difficult to come by.
Because they're coming
Actually,
from
I guess Jay, you
China?
can speak more accurately on that than I possibly could.
And basically, that sums it up in reference to it. And then it also has to do with a bunch of the stuff about Buy American and all this other stuff that's happening in our, here, which is obviously raising, and the supply is just
Yeah.
limited. in
I
reference
just read that I think Wheaton spent $900,000 on one traffic intersection.
It's not surprising, unfortunately.
That's kind of low, just FYI. So, okay, yes, Bob.
So at one point, I was told that the countdown signals were as much as 13K. It sounds like they're much more than that now.
I'll be honest, I don't have a frame of reference for individual components.
Yeah, individual, I don't have, I just know in general, just a typical intersection, similar to St. Charles and Ardmore here.
Yeah. And with regards to Commissioner Little's remarks, I did listen to them on the recording, and it was much more, it was not just the right-hand turn issue. She thought the configuration of the intersection should be looked at.
Right.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Understood, it's just, again, lane configuration changes would
Right.
fall under that engineering
Right.
study. So.
And then Director Guerra mentioned the STP project that'll be going on.
Right. So,
Something, if you're talking about pressing a button for additional time and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the timing of Addison Road and Villa also figured into that intersection, and that's gonna change the timing of all the lights?
No,
Just
that
'cause
that
of
wasn't
one?
my thought. My thought was merely that, okay, if you press the crosswalk button, you get a walk, don't walk sign,
Okay.
okay? So connect to the walk sign, a red arrow that prohibits right turns when you're crossing there.
I got it.
That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a whole nother array or anything like that.
so, just to keep this moving, I believe this is the quick solution to it, as it was just passed out. Okay, something that can happen shortly. Okay, and it could possibly be in our budget. I would,
I mean, the cost of putting 4 new sign panels on existing supports that are already there is, I would say, by far the least costly option that could be presented.
If you
right
look, the
Yeah,
driver
he's in
that's
here.
there can't see the sign from where he's at.
however, however, he is past.
He is past the stop line.
Pass by it.
Right, so, but that's as quick as solution as we
Yeah.
can get until that intersection improvement does come forth. Because no matter what we start now, we're way behind in reference to what the villages probably has done already in
Right.
reference to contacting. So I hopefully that answers your
Do
question.
we
Bob.
want to talk about this at the next meeting? When Trish is here?
905?
Pardon me?
905?
Well, we'd have to make it an agenda then, and yes, we could make it 9:05, and in reference to signage at the intersection of,
Or signage or pedestrian and bicycle safety at intersection of, it's up to the commission.
I'd like to make that motion to add it as.
okay, well,
item
let's get a
nine-
title first.
Item 905.
905.
Two additional pedestrian signage and refresh with high visibility crosswalks.
Okay. Okay. Bob, any second?
Second.
Joe? All in favor, say aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, well, done. Okay, and Joe, you're our last on the, oh, yes, you have more? I'm sorry.
I mentioned last meeting, I mentioned at our July meeting, the CMAP speed management study that came out in June, and you and I spoke about it briefly. And I think it would be great, I did share it with Commissioner Little,
Okay,
and I shared it with some other commissioners.
yes,
I think it would be a great thing that, to make sure everyone had it, and maybe there's some interesting stuff in there. I don't know if it'd be appropriate to get someone from CMAP to see if they would come and make a presentation to us, but I
if
think
you know somebody there, I do not know anybody there.
I could reach out to some, I've been to events at CMAP, I could reach out to someone, if that's what you wish.
Okay, let's just backtrack here one thing, and this is the manual that Bob was talking about, and I think you had one here when you were talking about it.
Right, exactly.
This is also was passed on by our village manager too, because he was at this meeting too, and discussed it with Kevin, and I think there's like 90 pages. So instead of printing this out for everybody, Kevin was planning to just email that out to all the commissioners so that you would have it for your own and read it at your luxury and stuff. So to your answer, yes, and something like that, hit me on the side of the head again to make sure that I can remember something like that, that we should probably, that would be the best way of doing something, so if you find something like that. But that covers the actual manual that we can end up, or what they came up with. It's not a manual, but it's a plan. And so we will email that all out to you, commissioners. And then, Bob, if you know somebody with CMAP,
Happy to do that, yep.
yes, and have them come. I don't see any reason, I think that might be a great presentation for our committee. So I'm in favor of that, Bob.
Okay,
Okay.
and that's all I have.
Keep me in the loop on that. though.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will copy you and Kevin.
Sounds great. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the, did we touch base with you, Joe, yet? Okay.
Nope.
All right, thank you. You're our last commissioner.
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I had an interesting conversation with a young woman by the name of Michelle Hanlon, who raised some questions about specifically pedestrian and bike safety on North Avenue, because she lives north of, on the north side of town, and she's been in communication with Kevin as well. So, I
Are you
think,
sure she lives on the north side?
what's that?
Are you sure she lives on the north side?
She said that she lived on the north side of town, but
Okay.
maybe, I could be wrong.
No, I guess I don't know for certain, I just.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not important.
But I think it would be good to share that with the whole,
Is that,
Commission.
is that the woman that I sent her email to you? Okay. which,
I would prefer to reach back out to her
Sure.
first to ask
Okay.
if she's comfortable with me passing that along.
yeah.
She had reached out to me and to Commissioner DiTomaso directly rather than to the commission directly, but let me have that conversation, and if she's on board with that, I'd be happy to pass it
Yeah,
along.
since she had bike and pedestrian issues, I invited her to come to the Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee.
Okay.
And provided her with information about that.
Speaking of which, I haven't seen anything that simply indicates on the website how to contact us.
I know we had a test and I got, it came through, so there, at one point, we did have something. Kevin is gonna take a look at that at the moment, and then we'll go on. Vicky, you have second thoughts, you wanna say something?
Yes, I do. So just based on the fact that we're bringing this back up on the St. Charles, because last time, do we have a more updated version of where we have accidents and so forth of high traffic areas?
That's what he said, it was crash studies.
Do we, oh, that's the
That's
crash study, so
that's
we
what
have
we were
that?
talking
Because the
about.
last time I looked at it, this was not a high incident
That is
area.
correct, and that's why we're asking to see what the
So-
police reports have for us, and that's where we didn't have enough time.
Okay, no, that's fine, but then can we also add into there that can we add additional items onto this crosswalk agenda? Because, I mean, the other areas that, I think would be more challenging sometimes would be right along the Prairie Path, especially at, what is it Riverside or Monterey? Monterey and Prairie Path as well as Summit and the Prairie Path area, there seems to be a lot more incidents there versus on St. Charles. Because if we're going to be adding additional signs, because they did do additional signs.
Okay. Oh.
I'm just, this is.
Okay. All right. Well, you're throwing a lot out there. I just want to, so I'm asking, are you asking to add additional agenda items in your request?
Well, can they be encompassed in the same item, would be the question.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so it have
I
to
will
be
get back to you once we see the crash.
for St. Charles and, okay.
Are we only doing St. Charles then?
Yeah, we can only, otherwise it's too, no.
Because we wouldn't have anything to compare that to based on other areas, so we will see that data versus no other data. So
Okay.
how can we make a decision if that data has increased or decreased if we are not?
Well, that's getting into a wide, big program that you're looking for, and I don't know if we have the resources to put people on it to budget that at the
I
moment.
understand that. So I mean, that's what I'm saying, if we don't have those resources, how can we make an effective decision on what we can and cannot do on one intersection?
Well, we're trying to pick isolated areas that have come up. Obviously, Commissioner Little brought that up, Tricia brought that up to our attention, as you're bringing up right now. And that's the reason why I said, slow down so we can track what you're, so that I can track what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm saying right now that we will get the accident report for St. Charles Road, because it was an indication that it was dangerous in reference to it. As you brought up, it wasn't at that meeting from your little hotspot in reference to, you brought some,
It was just the hotspot that was on our most recent, it was on our website.
okay.
The data that we pulled up.
So, but here's what I'm gonna suggest. Why don't you take a look at that, and if you got several places that you would like to bring up at the next meeting, present that to the next meeting, and then we could go from that point there and discuss it. If we add it on as an agenda item, or we feel that it's not necessary to do it, or we've looked at it once before, we go past records.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good. I will do
And
that.
just remember, when we do any traffic stop signs and stuff,
Warrant studies,
there's sometimes warrant studies that have to be done.
always.
Always, and that also then brings up a budget scenario in reference to that too.
I think that comes out of another budget, that doesn't come out of our budget.
No, it doesn't come out of our budget, but we gotta have approval by
Village.
the village.
Right.
The village manager and stuff like that. And that might even go to the board. for a look at. So, anyways, that sounds like, okay, that goes all the way around. All the commissioners have made comments.
Your turn.
No, I'm gonna make this real quick. Yes, the next meeting is right after Labor Day. I possibly will be out of town, that's for sure, possible. It was very questionable this time, but we're switching things around, see what happens. So with that, does everybody seem like they can make that meeting?
As you
Yes.
mentioned it, I can't. I forgot. I'm going to be out of town.
Okay, so Carl, okay. All right.
We want to put the meeting off?
No, just having one person out does not mean we will cancel a meeting on that in reference to it. As long as we can get a quorum, we will have a meeting. Okay, as long as there's a quorum, but if we know ahead of time that 4 people are gone, we can so, okay. But we'll send out just before, because that's a month away in case something comes up in reference to that.
Well, the reason I ask is that we've got that budget issue, and that's time sensitive.
It is time
We're
sensitive.
not gonna have a meeting on that date. We should consider doing a special meeting at another date.
That can be done.
Yes.
That can be done, but the thing is, we do know that we're going to be asking for having additional monies to cover, as I want to say, somebody to take notes at our meeting and to come up with the minutes. That's the major part of our budget. Along with that I got out of this was that if we wanted to add some other items that we think to that budget.
Right.
And that's where I'm going to say, I don't think we have that much room in the budget. If, you know, if we can get it to 2,500 or something like that to incorporate somebody
My
to.
point is Kevin's, is that you can always ask.
Right,
So but we've got one chance here to ask for next year.
yes.
So,
But I want to make it a realistic, what we need first, and that'd be the first thing on the plan. So, we'll have to look at it that way. So, unless you guys come up with other ideas, remember, some of these other ideas that we do come up with, if we do go to the village manager, we may be able to, you know, as long as it's a reasonable and
Right.
worthwhile.
all I'm suggesting though is that if we're gonna not have that meeting on the 3rd, that we plan for a special meeting a week later.
Don't you have to put out notice earlier than that?
Yeah, I think there's, what, a 2 or 3 week notice?
No,
I believe it's only 48 hours.
48 hours?
48 hours.
Okay.
But that said, if there wouldn't be a meeting on September 3rd, I think the question of the special meeting would need to be made tonight, I think.
Okay,
If we don't think we're gonna have a quorum for the 3rd, we should be looking at a special meeting.
If I could just make a point of order.
sure.
I don't think the budget request requires any formal action. So even if there's no quorum on September 3rd, the commission could still discuss and present a budget request to the manager's office without any action, I think. I don't think the commission needs to vote on that.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I can. look at
I
the
don't
meantime,
believe,
but-
no, I do not believe you have to have votes on it. It's suggestions from the commissioners, and then it is actually then submitted to it. There's not a,
I can say with certainty, there's never been an agenda item for the commission to vote on it before.
right.
So maybe we're doing things incorrectly. I don't.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, Bob?
Well, if we're putting the budget on our commission budget.
Yeah, we just
on the
did, yeah,
agenda,
you just did, good point.
You know, I think it's, certainly would be a good practice for us to annually review our budget and to say, this is what we agree upon as the amount we'd like to request. We may have not done it in the past, but I think it's a good practice going forward.
Yes, I agree.
I
Okay.
don't disagree.
All right. So, with that, basically, other things that I was going to bring up has been already brought up by other commissioners or in discussions, so I have nothing else, except that I hope everybody has a good holiday for the last holiday of the summer, supposedly, so. And then we're just going to skip over because we don't have any board member here. And village staff is Kevin. Do you have any additional?
Just a couple really quick things. Everybody should receive it, well, should have already received an email from me with a copy of the CMAQ Speed Management Report. As Jay mentioned, if anybody would like a paper copy, please let me know. But would prefer not to print those unless asked. I also did, in response to the mention that the Traffic and Safety Commission email address is not listed anywhere on the Traffic and Safety Commission page. I reached out to ask that that be added. I already received those, so there's no reason for me to be listed separately. And then the last thing I've got is that I will likely not be at the September meeting either, so I will try to find a replacement to attend in my place. So that's all I've got.
Okay. And I won't know, I will know in the next 8 to 9 days that if I'll be here or not. So, that's where it is. But if we have 2 commissioners out, that still holds the quorum. So,
Fair enough.
okay. Enough with that, and then, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So made.
To adjourn.
Okay, Karen's first, and Dickie was second. Okay, it is 9:50, and our commission is, need a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Thank you. And still, 9:50, and we'll see everybody next time.